Good afternoon, folks. I'm here with a colt we call Buddy. He's 13 months old, and I'm doing kind of an experiment in response to a post on YouTube by a fellow named Brett Davis. Well worth looking at his channel. Just search Brett Davis horse trainer, it'll come up. In a recent video he did, he suggested that subjecting your horse to a tarp and so forth as a process was fine, but it wasn't, and he made up a wonderful new word for our language. It wasn't really transilatory. His word, not mine, but I'd gladly hijack it. It wasn't transilatory, or didn't carry over to the rest of the horse's life. It was just, you would get the horse fine with the tarp, but under other circumstances, he was still the same old horse. Instead, get your horse to trust you, get your horse to trust himself, and they could go through things that were unexpected. So we brought this colt up here to a place there he really has never been. We're doing a project at our house. Things are kind of a mess, really not kind of a mess. If this isn't a mess, it'll do till one comes along. We've also got somebody working with a screw gun behind us, and you'll see him startle a little bit, but he's taking it all in stride. The only plant here is that tarp, which I put down there. We had a big old tarp lying there, but we had picked it up, and I thought, well, let's just introduce him to this construction zone the way it was, without a lot of preamble. Test who the horse is and how good the connection is between the two of us that might allow us. Now see, he's looking over there at the work being done, and he's more interested than scared. That's a good sign. So what I'll do first, before I go back in there, I'm going to take him over here and show him some of the things that went along with the construction that are opportunities and that are completely unexpected. For example, I'm pretty sure he's never seen a Jiffy John before. On the other hand, you never know when he might have a sudden urge to use the shitter. So here it is. And I suspect that if the sight doesn't scare him, the smell may. What do you reckon? Anything in there you're interested in? Or would you just as soon I close the door? Okay. What if I just let it swing shut? Would that scare you? Okay. So he's taking it in. He's snuggling up to me a little bit, but he's showing that he's got some confidence in himself. I think some confidence in me. And he's holding himself together and kind of enjoying the process. So we're going to go back through here. There is a tarp back here, which I'm going to avoid for the time being. I'll explain why. I'm going to take him back alongside this big old pile of screenings. And if he wants to check them out, let him check them out. Nothing to be scared of. There's a pallet of stone back here. And the going's a little tight. Let's see if we can squeeze in between this dumpster and this big pile of rock. Now, you may not get the full sensation on the video, but that may be the hardest thing I asked him to do, because the ground was shifting under his feet. He had something potentially scary off to the side of him, and he just did what I asked him to do, and he did it pretty willingly. So there's a lot of stuff up in here. I don't know what he'd do if I pulled it out. It's over his head. You see that, bud? Yeah. And that's the first thing he's reacted to. How about this? Does that look pretty harmless to you? How about this? I don't even know what it was or is. So see, he's not as dead quiet as he seems, but he is so curious that he's gonna check this whole thing out, see if it's edible, and maybe if I'm not careful, walk away with it. So it's a really good test to see how your horse wants to be. And on the tarp front, in Brett Davis's video, he referenced another video where somebody put a horse through a big tarp process. Nothing wrong with that, but you can learn a lot about how much your horse is with you, what the connection's like, if you show them their first tarp in real life. So this is the first he's seen a tarp. He's got his head down. I'm certainly not going to hurry him. I would rather have a wider tarp. This is a piece that we had cut, and it was what I could put my hands on. See, I'm going to let him look at it, but then we're going to go on over it. Up here is his lifetime first cardboard. How do you feel about coming across that cardboard? It's not a no. It's not a no, is it? So we're giving him the time he needs to do what he needs to do. But as the saying goes, if you want something to be a big deal, make a big deal out of it. And I'd like to think for him, this is no big deal. What if I pick that up? So that'll give you a little idea of why I tend to agree, at least in part, with Brett Davis, that it's more important to have your horse accepting of what you ask them to do, more willing to accept the unexpected and trust you, than to try to desensitize them to the whole world, which is impossible. You are never going to get them exposed to all the things that you might see if you are out in the real world under combat conditions. Well, on the other hand, am I going to stop my usual program, which would have included flagging, tarping, milk jugs? No, I'm going to go through all that with him. I think it's good to do it in a controlled environment. It lets you spot horses that are going to have problems and maybe head them off. And the more things you expose them to that come out right, the more they're going to trust you. But with this particular horse, I felt like there was a good enough connection that we could come up here under real world circumstances and expose him to some of these things that he's never seen before. He's acting like he wants to go back to the Jiffy John. And maybe that's not the worst idea. So, from the interior of the portable toilet, so long until next time.